This is the Soul to Earth podcast. I'm your host, Carrie Koss, psychic, evidential medium, mentor, and witch, here to help you explore your connection with the spirit world and discover your own grounded spiritual practice. Welcome to episode 1 of the Soul to Earth podcast relaunch. I'm so excited you're here. I want to welcome you. If you don't know me, my name is Carrie Koss. I'm a psychic medium and I'm also a spiritual mentor and teacher. And I'm absolutely so excited that you're here. So if you were able to listen to the first mini episode, you may know a little bit about me and my background, but I'm going to fill you in just to let you know a little bit about me. So I am a psychic medium. I started developing my abilities after I had a lot of anxiety in my late teens. And so I was fortunate enough to live in a city in California where they actually had a school for psychic development and energy healing. And so in my 20s, I was fortunate enough to be able to go and develop these abilities. And so as an adult, I've lived really in harmony with spirit, with my abilities. And then I started doing this professionally in 2019 after years of doing readings privately and also with a school that I was involved with in my 20s. So I'm really excited that you're here. If you want to know more about all the services I offer, the school I have, getting readings with me, we can definitely talk about that at the end of this episode. But let's just start by saying thank you so much for being here. Now, in these first few episodes, when it's going to be just you and I, and we don't have any guest mentors, we're going to be really talking about the things that I am really excited about supporting you in. And today we're going to be talking about mediumship. We're going to be talking a little bit about the history of mediumship. We're going to be talking about ways you can strengthen your abilities in mediumship. And also, I want to let you know, I am going to be offering an opportunity for someone to come on to the podcast and be able to get a mediumship reading with me right here. And so more about that just a bit later in the episode. So let's just start out with what is mediumship, right? So the definition, which I think many mediums can agree with this, is that what mediumship is, it's the ability and the connection we have with the spirit world. And if you're the medium, you're able to tune in to spirits or a spirit communicator and bring through evidence and messages of life after passing. Now, how we go about doing that is another thing, but we will get into that momentarily. So I am going to be reading some of my notes just so we can cover really more about what I like to say is the history of us as a species, as humans, and how mediumship has been integrated into our historically throughout time, since we have record of time, and also what we can know as being modern mediumship, and a little bit about the history of like some of the people that I've trained with and how we got to where we are today, and then where we're going, which is what I'm also really excited about. Now, historically, most cultures really have embraced mediumship. It is not really something that is new whatsoever. In ancient Egypt, Egyptians definitely believed in communicating with the dead through dreams and visions, and they practiced rituals. They had oracles that seeked guidance from their ancestors, and this is really this is getting a revival now, which I'm really excited about. And something that I'm teaching in my school, something that I have, we also will be having some guest mentors coming in and talking about connecting with your ancestors. So it's a whole nother segment of what I consider to be under the umbrella of mediumship. Also, the Greeks and the Romans, both of these cultures really did sense the presence of spirits, and we used mediums for oracles. You've probably heard of the Oracle of Delphi, where that's a very famous example in history, where there was a woman who was an oracle, and she would bring through messages from I don't actually know if she said the divine or if it was from higher spirits in order to help the community. So there was a large reverence for this ability to connect and tap into the spirit world. Also, of course, many indigenous cultures never stopped connecting with their ancestors and continue to do so throughout the entire world and throughout history and antiquity. And also, of course, many Asian cultures do ancestor worship, which they really have been they've always done it, and realize the importance of it in the continuation of their heritage and their culture. So it's highly respected. So, and also interestingly enough, in medieval and Renaissance Europe, there was something known as Christian mysticism. And that is really where they were revering saints and angels. That's definitely a deep spiritual, I would say, communication, and also known for spiritual experiences. Okay, so let's move into more like modern, which would be considered the 1800s, I would say. So the last 150 years and where we are now and some of the foundations of our mediumship development, at least on this side of things. We're speaking purely from this is not connected to a cultural tradition whatsoever. This is just more connected to what's known as the spiritualist tradition. And many people train with that. Many people of different backgrounds and traditions also get training with spiritualist type of techniques because even though the spiritualist church does have its own foundations and belief systems, that is also, if you go to train in a spiritualist church, you're not adopting, any necessarily any of the beliefs they have about, let's say, God or one God or anything like that, that you can still go there and train and get excellent training and then maybe have different beliefs about things that like I'm interested, like paganism and animism and things like that, but more about that later. So in the 19th century, there was a famous sisters called the Fox Sisters. This was in 1848. This is where the modern spiritualist movement began in Hydesville, New York. And so they made this claim that they heard spirits in their home and they began communicating with the spirits by a rapping or a knocking system, getting back information. You can imagine too, a lot of people do this type of what we call divination. Some people do things like using a Ouija board. A lot of people have beliefs about that or non-beliefs, but people use different systems in order to communicate with spirits. But then it went much further, of course. And spiritualist movement also really moved into the North America and into Britain, of course. And there are many spiritualist organizations throughout the world. And so they have their own belief systems and they have some very good training and core, I would say, development that can really help as far as being able to become a medium with integrity, with ethics, and very much evidence-based. Now, when you hear this comment of an evidential medium, what does that mean? Have you wondered that before? So I'll give you a very brief explanation. It is definitely something that you can explore and dive into. But essentially, an evidential medium is someone who brings forth evidence of life after passing from the spirit world. Now, the idea is, and this is where I'll kind of go into like my beliefs, my role, and also where I align, with these different traditions, is that often when we are developing our clair abilities or our sensitivities to be able to open up our energy field and see, sense, hear, smell, taste, touch, the spirit world, we have to do a lot of personal and self-development in order to become clear, in order to not put our own bias or beliefs or limitations or projections onto that communication with the spirit. And so what happens sometimes is when people are beginning their development, or if they haven't developed as mediums truly, they often can put their own slant or bias onto what they're receiving from the spirit communicator. And then what they end up doing is having more of a dialogue with the person who came in for the reading and putting their own spin on it and extracting information from the sitter, as opposed to really connecting with the spirit communicator. This is something that really, if you've witnessed good evidential mediumship, you'll notice the difference between that kind of quality mediumship and when someone is maybe adding in and filling in and not giving a lot of evidence and details about the spirit communicator. And we're definitely going to be doing some really great mediumship demonstrations on this podcast, which I'm so excited about. So definitely stay tuned for that, because I'm going to be looking for some volunteers. Now, I want to talk to you about my own journey as a medium. So, when I was a child, like probably many of you, I was extremely sensitive. And so, my mediumship abilities, or my clair abilities, which is the ability to see spirit, the ability to hear spirit, the ability to know spirit, smell spirit, feel, and so on, um, was very open. And it was because I was young, of course, like many of us. And so I had many experiences where I felt spirits. Because I had no way of being able to qualify it or communicate about it or place it, it really frightened me because I didn't understand it. So, what I did instead is I started tuning it out and tuning it way down, which is very common. But what happened to me instead is I really then tuned it in, that skill set, into being what I like to say is someone who really was clearly able to read people extremely well. Both of my parents, I believe, were very intuitive, empaths, definitely, and psychic in their own right. And so, both of them being that way, it was quite natural that I was, as well as my sisters. So, we all were able to we had extra sensory perception. Now, for me, seeing people literally, there's different types of clairvoyance. We'll be getting into that, where you actually physically see a spirit. That didn't happen as often to me, and I think I shut that down because when I was younger, I had many more experiences like that, where I was seeing things, especially at night when it was quiet in my room. And so, what happened is when I had my awakening at the age of 20, 19, 20, when I went into my school to be trained, I really focused mostly on doing psychic readings for people and doing energy healings, because I was much more focused on the people across from me, and doing that type of healing work, helping them work through their issues. And I also focused a lot on chakra healing and my clairvoyance in a lot of other ways, and really connecting with those in the spirit world, with the exception of my spirit guides, wasn't as much a priority for me, or even something that I was really interested in. It just didn't occur to me when I was at that point. But what happened is, as time went on, in my 30s and then in my 40s, I started picking up on a lot more spirits, and I started seeing them in places and getting information from them and just tuning into them and being able to read them and communicate with them. And also, because I was a developed psychic, it was just a natural thing. So, what happened for me was I want to say around 2016, probably about, I want to say 8 years ago, I was, as many of you know at the time, I was working as a hairstylist for a very long time. And I started working in a salon that was in an older building. And in that building, and also anytime I went in an older building, I saw many spirits and communicated with them and felt the call of the spirit world wanting me to communicate with them. And then when I would be connecting with people, if I was doing a psychic reading, I would tune into their loved ones. And so I started opening up that channel and becoming really just fascinated with it. And so for me, it was a natural fit. From there, I went in and did my training, and I have trained with 5 or 6 mentors and some very good ones. Most of them have been trained in with the Spiritualist Church and also Arthur Findlay College, which is in the UK. I continue to train. 2 of my mentors now are both in the UK and very well known and amazing. And I also have an amazing mentor who was from Canada. So I have been very fortunate to continue my development. And then also because of all my years of training and all my years of being a psychic, I felt very called to then teach mediumship. And so at this point, with where things are going, I want to say a few things about developing your mediumship and developing mediumship in general. Mediumship really is not just for people who are sensitive and who maybe saw spirits when they were young. Mediumship and being able to connect in and develop your senses is really a life skill, I believe. And we all have spirit guides. We all have loved ones in the spirit world. We all have the ability to connect in with the world of spirit around us, not just with our loved ones, not just with our spirit guides, but with all the spirits that are contained in the land where we live, and beyond. There's just a whole world of the spirit. And so now I'm at the point where I'm actually very interested, and the title I'm feeling connected to when I'm working in this way is more of a multi-dimensional mediumship. And so I am on, in this place, both in the work I do and with the classes I'm teaching and with the support I'm giving my students, where I am helping people in general open up their abilities. And a lot of this has to do with people's perceptions, the beliefs they grew up with, a lot to do with religious programming. It has to do with doing deep shadow work. There's a lot of reasons why we have muted our senses from the world of be able to connect with the world of spirit. And it's really important, I believe, in order really for humanity to be able to be connected with each other, with the world of spirit, with our earth, our planet, and then really what's coming ahead of us, because I believe we are going to be headed to a place where we're going to be contacted and connecting, because we already are, with other consciousness, other species that aren't even from this planet. And I will let you know that because I've had my own experiences, and we will talk about that in future episodes, but I have been, spoken to many different types of spirits, including what I like to say are elemental spirits as well as extraterrestrial. And they all work on this premise of being much more expanded in their consciousness than we are as humans. And that these senses, these extra sensory perception senses, are really a beautiful way of being a human, a spiritual human. And what I'm excited about on this podcast and moving forward is helping give you inspiration, ideas, education, to be able to open up your perception to the amazing world, yes, of mediumship, but also with all these other traditions where you can be interacting with your ancestors, your spirit guides, your loved ones in spirit, but also the world around you of all the other spirits that are here. So there is so many exciting things to do. Now, I'm going to leave you today with some tips, with some guidance, things that I think might help you begin to open up to the world of spirit around you. The first thing I want to mention is that, as we've spoken of, and many of you will already know this, but we have abilities that are part of our birthright as human beings and as spiritual beings in human form. and they are called our clairs. And our clairs, just like we have hearing, seeing, smelling, and tasting, we also have clairvoyance, which is the ability to see energy clearly. And then we also have clairaudience, which is the ability to hear spirit clearly. We also have claircognizance, the ability to know spirit clearly. And then clairsentience, the ability to sense spirit. These are also, in many forms, more occultists refer to these as your arcane senses. If you're saying arcane, arcane means something ancient, means that we've always had them. They are nothing new. It is with modern culture that we have shut these senses down. So what I want you to start doing is I'm going to have you pick one clair that you can practice on. And I'm going to just pick a few and then you can decide which one you want to do. So let's say, for example, you want to work on your clairsentience. Clairsentience is the ability to sense spirit. Okay. Here's the homework for you. What I want you to do is I want you to, at least a couple times a week, I want you to find a quiet place where you will not be disturbed for at least 20 minutes. I want you to turn off your phone. I want you to have nice atmosphere. Feel free to light a candle. Make sure you're not going to be disturbed. And in that time, what I want you to do is I want you to invite in to your space one of two different spirits. The first spirit can be a spirit guide, one of your spirit guides. And when you invite your spirit guide in to the space with you, I want you to ask them to come in close to you. And I want you to just sense what you're picking up on. So if they're coming in close to you and you're leaving a very open mind without expectation, and I want you to feel what am I noticing? Am I getting a chill? Do I notice a change in temperature? Do I feel warm? Do I see something maybe when that spirit comes close to me? What am I noticing? And just give it time. And I want you to not analyze what you're getting. I want you to just allow your mind to just relax. Let your mind relax. Don't try and stop your mind. Your mind is your ally, not your enemy. So we want to be in harmony with it. And we just want to pick up on what are we noticing. And then I want you to jot it down in a journal. Now, the second task, if you're inclined to do clairvoyance, and that's the ability to see spirit, what I want you to do is I want you to pick 5 things, 5 items. They can be something like your first car, your elementary school, your favorite pet, your favorite tree, or your favorite swimming pool, something like that. And I want you to have the same setup. I want you to take out time to just relax, not be disturbed for 20 minutes, and make sure that you don't have anyone who will interrupt you. And I want you to take that short list of items. And I want you to just take a moment, relax and breathe, release expectations. And I want you just to imagine, without effort, what the first item looks like. Now, when you notice it, I want you to, in your imagination, I want you to look at it from all sides, front, back, upside down, and underneath. And then I want you to just observe. How does it make you feel? What do you notice? And then go ahead and jot down what you noticed. Then do the same for the second thing, right? And so on for the 5 things, and drop them down. Now, I would most likely, if you're going to work on both of these, don't do them at the same time. Just work on strengthening one at a time. So as you do these techniques, they will help you start to open up and strengthen your clair abilities. My teacher, one of my teachers, Courtney Dawson, taught me the first one, which was to bring your guide in close to you. I thought it was the most genius thing. One of the things for me, because a lot of things have come naturally to me because I developed at such a young adult age. So when I'm teaching my students, I really want them to be able to have these same wonderful experiences of really being able to feel and sense the spirit world around them. So you can either do that with a loved one in spirit, or you can do it with a spirit guide. And either way, let me know in the show notes if you don't mind telling me what your experience is like. This is just the beginning of our work together. I am so excited. As I mentioned, reach out to me. I am going to be picking from some of my loyal listeners who are following, liking, sharing, and commenting to come onto the show and to be able to, get a reading with me. As well as I'm going to be inviting a few other mediums that I have either worked with or and I really respect. Something I think you'll learn something else from them, which I think will be fantastic. I also want to let you know the lineup that we have for the show for the rest of the year is really exciting. Beyond mediumship, we're going to be talking in depth about different types of energy healing, quantum healing. We're also going to be talking about working with ancestors and ancestor veneration. We are going to be exploring witchcraft, and I'm going to be sharing with you my journey of, I want to say, rededicating myself to witchcraft, more about that, and also priestess work. And what does that actually mean? We're going to be talking a lot about, as I said, connecting with a variety of spirits, deity work, paganism, animism. And then we also will definitely have some people that I find interesting as far as working with tarot, the occult, and a few witches that I really respect. And we're going to be really demystifying and helping you clearly understand these beautiful practices of life and spirituality. Thank you so much for joining me today. If you have any questions, please feel free to reach out. I cannot wait to see you in the next episode. Stay tuned. I will be going through on my website and letting you know the lineup of the shows to expect. Again, these are twice a month released episodes, bi-weekly. And it's just the perfect pace for me. But I would love to see you also, if you would be interested in joining my school. Joining my school is absolutely free. Also, I do readings, and I have space right now to do private readings and sessions and a variety of other things. So if you're interested, please reach out. Thank you again for being here. If you have any questions, please let me know, and we'll see you in the next episode. Take care. You've been listening to the Soul to Earth podcast. Follow me on social media and watch the full episodes on YouTube.